Hello and welcome to Crossfire, the show that dives into the heart of global conflicts, where nations collide, alliances shift, and lives hang in the balance. Tonight on the show, we decode if Iran is preparing for a full-scale war with Israel as it builds a massive defense tunnel in Tehran. Also on the show, we tell you how the war in Ukraine is delaying India's crucial weapon supplies from Russia. So the tensions between Iran and Israel have not eased. The escalating strain between both the nations are reaching unprecedented heights. Although Iran has yet to respond to Israel's attack on October 26th, the risk of conflict between the two nations remains high. Now, reports have emerged that Iran has begun what appears to be a large-scale defensive construction, a massive tunnel network right in the heart of Tehran. Defense analysts are claiming that this is a defensive measure, and this tunnel project signals that Iran could be preparing for a full-scale war with Israel. The tunnel, which is located near the city center, will link a station on the Tehran metro to the Imam Khomeini hospital. This will allow direct underground access to the medical facility. The head of Tehran's Transport Council has said that this is the first time a tunnel with defensive properties is being built inside the capital. Military analysts report that these tunnels are designed to withstand aerial and missile attacks, and they could serve as a shelter for key government officials and military personnel in the case of an attack on the capital. According to experts, these tunnels could be used to house advanced weaponry, storage facilities, or to provide secure communications channels. A contingency plan for continued functioning if Tehran ever faces bombardment. Now, this type of tunnel network in a major urban center suggests that Iran is seriously preparing for a scenario where Tehran itself might be under threat. However, this is not the first time Iran is building a defense shelter. Last year, Iran's state media released a video footage showing images of Iran's underground tunnels and bunkers. These shelters and bunkers were constructed to house Iran's air defense systems and weapons. It was the first time that Iran publicly released the images of the locations of these defense systems. Iran's move to fortify Tehran indicates that it believes that escalation is a genuine possibility, perhaps even more than before. Tensions between Israel and Iran have led to multiple attacks on each other over recent months. And in the latest incident, Israel launched attacks on several Iranian military and strategic sites on October 26th. This resulted in the deaths of 5 people, including a civilian. Israel claimed that the attacks were in retaliation for an earlier assault in October. In response, Iran is once again preparing for a counterattack, labeling the October 26 strikes as an assault on Iranian sovereignty. What happens next remains uncertain, but the situation is undoubtedly tense. If Iran's tunnel construction is any indicator, we may be getting closer to an unprecedented level of conflict in the region. Moving on. In a move that's raising alarms across the region, new satellite images reveal that Israeli defense forces have been constructing infrastructure along the UN-patrolled demilitarized zone in Syria. This activity along the tense Israel-Syria border has sparked concern, with international leaders warning that it could heighten instability in an already volatile region. Now, these images, analyzed by security experts, indicate a series of new fortifications. The IDF has begun construction projects along the so-called Alpha Line that separates the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights from Syria. The construction reportedly began in early September this year, and this is an area that is closely monitored by the United Nations to ensure peace and neutrality along this sensitive border. The IDF's new construction suggests that Israel is not only bolstering its defense, but may also be preparing for heightened tensions in response to escalating threats from neighboring Syria. Satellite images taken by Planet Labs show over 7.5 kilometers of construction along the Alpha Line. It also appears to show a trench between the two embankments, parts of which appear to have been laid with fresh asphalt. A fence has also been installed towards the Syrian side. Now, this area was established as a buffer following the 1973 Yom Kippur War. It has long served as a neutral ground. The United Nations Disengagement Observer Force has maintained patrols here to ensure both Israel and Syria respect these boundaries. Yet, with these new Israeli developments, observers are worried that the demilitarized zone is on the brink of becoming a flashpoint in a wider conflict. Now, defense analysts believe that this construction could be preparation for an ongoing escalation of the conflict with groups operating out of Syria, especially those groups backed by Iran. This activity could indicate Israel's attempt to establish stronger defensive positions. Meanwhile, several peacekeeping bodies are expressing concern and calling for restraint. It remains to be seen whether diplomatic channels can diffuse these escalating tensions, or whether the region is on the verge of an even more serious confrontation. Now, let's shift our focus to the Russia-Ukraine war. For the past 2 years, Russia has been engaged in a full-scale war with Ukraine. And now, with Moscow tied up in a prolonged conflict, production and export of vital military supplies could be pushed back, directly impacting India's defense readiness. India has long depended on Russia for advanced defense technology, from tanks and fighter jets to missile systems. However, as Russia continues to focus on its own military needs in Ukraine, there are growing concerns that major weapons deliveries for India could face prolonged delays. This includes high-stake assets like the S-400 missile defense systems, which are vital for India's strategic defense plans. India is expected to receive the first of 2 multi-role frigates within the next month, after a 2-year delay. No other deliverables are expected before 2026-2027. Now, Russia and India had signed an acquisition agreement way back in 2018. Now, under this agreement, Russia was supposed to deliver 2 warships by 2022-2023. However, India has yet to receive a single ship. Russia has prioritized its own defense needs over its deal with India, affecting India's military modernization plans. The most significant impact is on air defense systems, with delays in delivery expected to extend all the way till 2026. According to media reports, the delay from Russia is expected to be part of a wider trend. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, its arms sales have fallen by almost 60%. The entire Russian defense industry has had to reorient itself to meet the needs of the Ukraine war. Russia has even had to import missiles, ammunition, and drones from North Korea and Iran. Now, while the Indian government has yet to release a statement on this matter addressing the potential delays, New Delhi might start working on contingency plans to address any supply chain issues from Russia. Diversifying India's defense supply chain has been on the agenda for some time, but the urgency has now increased. The ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict is reshaping the defense landscape for countries around the world, and India is no exception. As India evaluates its options, the question remains: will alternative defense partnerships be able to meet India's needs in time, or will these delays leave critical gaps in its defense infrastructure? And now it's time to take a look at some of the biggest fallouts from some of the biggest conflicts across the world that you might have missed. The Palestinian death toll from the ongoing Israeli-Hamas war has risen to 43,712. Total number of injuries have reached over 103,000. Over the past 24 hours, Israeli military operations in Gaza have caused 47 deaths and 182 injuries. Also, more than 61,000 people are estimated to have died in Khartoum state in Sudan during the first 14 months of that country's war. However, new research done by the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine's Sudan Research Group differs from that estimate. The new study shows that the toll from the devastating conflict is significantly higher than previously recorded. The report says that starvation and disease are increasingly becoming the leading causes of death reported across Sudan. Also, the United States Central Command has released a video said to be showing a precise airstrike on a Houthi target in Yemen. In a post on social media platform X, CENTCOM says it has executed a series of strikes on multiple Houthi weapon storage facilities in Yemen. These Houthi fighters have carried out nearly 100 attacks on ships crossing the Red Sea since November last year. The group says that they are acting in solidarity with Palestinians in Israel's year-long war in Gaza. And with that, it's time to wrap up this edition of Crossfire. Thank you so much for joining us on India Today Global.